Welcome to Living in Beauty. It's Sunday, July 3rd, 2021, day 1630 on the road, and we are on Florida's Lost Coast. Well, hello, 2021. We've been hoping to see ya. 2020 taught us a lot about praying, hoping, dreaming, and drinking. Last year, Jim and I lost good friends and close family members to the plagues COVID-19 and cancer. So, yes, we're hurting. This Living in Beauty pilgrimage was born of pain. The pain of losing our dear mothers within months of each other. So the journey continues, little changed from before. My favorite book, The Canterbury Tales, is about a ragtag group of plague survivors taking to the road in the spring. There's nothing like the end of a pandemic to get people out of the house, looking for a word of hope, a bit of good cheer, the chance for healing, and a good stiff drink to loosen the tongue and let out a story. Here's our story about how we accumulated 100 bottles of wine in Beauty, our 30-foot Airstream trailer. Food heals. Wine makes you feel young. So the average Living in Beauty breakfast conversation is loosely centered around what we'll eat and drink when the sun sinks into the horizon like cold butter on a hot griddle, followed by pressed garlic, fresh herbs, and Gulf shrimp, finished with a sizzling splash of Pinot Gris. So, before and after we left Vinny with more important Airstream matters to deal with, we traveled through wine country, killing time and stocking up the Living in Beauty wine cellar, created by Beauty's previous trailer daddy, Larry Cook. The Living in Beauty wine cellar holds 24 bottles of wine. Now, you might say, whoa, that's a lot of wine to carry on board an Airstream. And we would agree, if we didn't do it all the time with no problems. And 24 bottles of wine is just about right when we're camping for weeks in backcountry or spending the winter in dry counties in the deep south, or just for a summer in Utah. 24 bottles of wine only weighs 72 pounds. We spare no expense for fresh, high-quality groceries, but we tend to be frugal about wine. That's because usually we drink wine with dinner, and sometimes we drink wine after dinner. So we look for deals. Wineries are great places to find bargains, especially when we buy cases. And with complimentary overnight parking for a minimum purchase at participating Harvest Host locations, it's easy and inexpensive to set out on a bargain hunting expedition. The moment we arrive to a new winery, we put the anxieties of the real world behind us and focus on the winery's unique dream, personality, and passion, which we find embedded in the signature features, the well-kept grounds, views of the countryside, and the intimate tasting rooms where we meet the earthy winemakers and farmers who make all this magic happen. It's always a bonus when we're invited to walk through the vines with a glass of grape. Retiring to the trailer, we settle in for a rustic dinner of local produce, cheese, dates, figs, almonds, walnuts, oranges, avocados, and, if the weather permits, stargaze before turning in for the night. Next day, we do it all again. Well, sure, there must be better ways to live, but so far we haven't discovered a downside to the vineyard touring lifestyle. Since the pandemic began, we sometimes wonder why we do anything else. Now, here are the details of the Living in Beauty 2020 wine crawl. Hanford Ranch Winery. We were greeted by Preston, our host, who guided us to a generous and shady space on the gorgeous grounds. Melissa, Preston's wife and partner, gave us a fabulous tasting experience. Before the pandemic, Hanford Ranch served as a popular wedding and concert venue. And though it is more quiet these days, the beautiful grounds are a sight to behold. Later that night, We gathered around the campfire to chat with Preston and Melissa and fellow Harvest Host campers from Lake Tahoe. It was one of those magic moments when all the elements come together. Perfect weather, crackling fire, fascinating company, great conversation, and top-notch wine. Hanford is only a few miles from Vinnie's North Bay Airstream repair, so this was our first visit. So, a Harvest Host member suggested we visit Nico Family Winery in Lodi to try their excellent Old Vine Zinfandel, which was being offered at a price we couldn't afford to pass up. So we stopped by and we stocked up. Okay, truth is, we went kinda crazy, but it was crazy hot that day, so we lost our minds and loaded up on the Chardonnay and the Rosé. All that lovely wine has served us well during this dark COVID winter, and we're proud to say that we still have enough on board to spill over into 2021. Thank you, Nico. Now, we read great things about Beau Niche Cellars. The owner, a veteran, once lived in Naples, Italy, where I lived in the 60s, so I just had a good feeling about it. In the last year, we have met several retired veterans who are now winemakers or brewers who support veteran relief programs. As we drove up to the gate, we were greeted by a staff member who guided us safely to a primo spot on the hill with a spectacular view of the valley below, where rows of late autumn vines glowed like a million paper luminarias against the sunset light. The countryside here could keep a landscape artist busy for a lifetime. Horses graze beneath shady oaks on the golden hillsides. Owls swoop low over barn roofs. A man with a walking stick herds goats home for the night. For those who appreciate non-pretentious and intimate wineries that keep it simple, you can't beat Paso Robles. Beau Niche took it a step further by inviting us to help with the last 4 rows of Cabernet Franc. Well, sure, why not? So early next morning, we masked up and joined the harvest. Someday, I'll look through my photos and submit an entry for their wine label contest. Four Sisters Ranch. Just what the doctor ordered. We were graciously welcomed by our hosts, Michael and Serena, both are MDs, to their 500-acre ranch with 400 acres of vineyards. They've grown wine grapes here since 1989 and produce wine for renowned wineries all over the world, and just recently started producing under the family label, Four Sisters, after their 4 daughters. Michael, the farmer, and Serena, the winemaker, have a genuine passion for this work. We pulled in during the late afternoon, and even after a full day of running the shop, this amazing couple had energy to spare. Creative, relentless, infectious. It was a joy to be in their company. We bought some bottles and walked back to our quiet camp spot beneath the oaks, feeling such gratitude for being in this healthy, blessed place. DeBellis Ranch. This was our first time to tour Acton in Los Angeles County, a fascinating, off-the-beaten-path frontier town. All those childhood summers on my grandfather's farm in Alabama still nurture a place in my heart for small family farms, and especially those with pick-your-own tomatoes. We were welcomed by Mike and Anjanette DeBellis, who provided baskets so we could harvest our own herbs, flowers, tomatoes, berries, and other organic produce from their tidy, pesticide-clean, and beautiful garden. Anjanette is a florist as well as a farmer. She grows, harvests, and arranges clean, pesticide-free flowers for all occasions, and her work is amazing. We were delighted to discover Acton and this sweet, enterprising, and community-minded family farm. Vista Ranch. It was hotter than a $2 pistol, but we wanted to visit my cousin, Miriam. There's a saying in our family, Miriam can do anything. And it's no exaggeration. She restored her mid-century cottage all by herself, planted a COVID garden that can feed her entire neighborhood, is a world traveler, and speaks, I don't know how many languages now. And oh yes, she knits. So even though it was 120 degrees in Merced, Miriam showed up to our overnight digs at Vista Ranch with several flavors of homemade ice cream. Dr. Miriam Barlow is an evolutionary biologist on the faculty at UC Merced, and antibiotic resistance is just one area of her expertise because Jim and I failed to resist any of her ice creams. Miriam knows stuff. Just saying. 24 Bricks Winery. Driving through the heat wave, we stopped for a night of refreshment at 24 Bricks. How hot was it? So hot that every time we opened the door to our air-conditioned trailer, an alligator lizard tried to jump in. Now, I'm sure this lizard, born to better things, would have been an excellent house guest, make beds, wash dishes, make a pallet, and sleep on the floor. Nevertheless, we resisted her charms and placed a bowl of water out to distract her. Much as we would have liked to hang out inside the cool Pueblo winery, we didn't want to take a COVID risk. And because it was much too hot to sit outside, Jim masked up and purchased a few bottles of their chilled, refreshing, pesticide-free Sauve Blanc. So we took the last of Miriam's ice cream out of the freezer, popped open a bottle of Sauve, and watched Antarctica webcams. Crystal Basin Cellars and Highway 50 Brewery. The great thing about Merced in the summer is cooler temperatures are not far away in the higher elevations at the base of the Sierra Nevada. Camino, a small agricultural community on the I-50, gave us 2 reasons to pull off and spend the night. Yes, a side-by-side winery and brewery. And both had bands playing that Friday night. This is an authentic California hangout with a provincial working-class vibe. The socially distanced outdoor area set impossibly along the bare raw edge of the 50 was wildly exciting and scenic. Honestly, now that we've seen it, we'd drive out of our way to go here. In fact, I want my retirement home to be right next door. Now, in the first week of 2021, about a dozen bottles remain from our 2020 California Wine Country Tour. No bottles have been broken. And even with all the climate inconsistencies due to traveling through freezing and dry territory to humid and warm, we've had no spoilage. Now, there's no moral to this story except when life gives you a pandemic, make room for wine. And if you're living in an Airstream, just stuff those bottles inside fluffy winter microfiber socks and then cram them back in the cardboard cases. Of course, you'll have to step over or around them for a couple of months, so place them carefully. And lifting a glass now, and here's to your best year yet, your best journey, your best adventure. May 2021 make it happen. Cheers. Thank you so much for joining us at Living in Beauty. If you like this post and want to be notified when a new one is released, please enter your email address and then click the follow button at the bottom of this page. For more info, check out our travel maps and facts. Okay, that's it for now. Safe travels, and see you next time.